Thank you all for being here this morning and for joining us for our final webinar of the summer. The topic for today is building your digital toolbox. And this is hopefully really good timing for everybody as you guys get ready to start school in the next, well, this week, next week, or the week after, I would imagine everybody will get started. So again, if you haven't gotten your chat window open, mouse over that green bar at the top of the screen and then click on chat. And you'll need to do that. Whenever you lose it, that's how you get it back again. Just a few announcements to get us started. I just want to make sure everybody knows where to find us. Hopefully, since you have joined this webinar today, that you have found us in the past. But anytime you're on the DOE site, you can just click on Hot Topics, and e-learning is listed under there. And so we're really easy to find on the DOE site. The place to find all of our information is here. In the spotlight is where all of our newest and most timely information will be. And something that I want to point out to everybody here, to stay in contact with us, we have a new blog, the eLearning Pulse. That's the second link there. We've been blogging from all of our summer conferences. We will continue to blog from different events that we go to, just to give people who aren't able to attend those events a chance to find out what's going on in the world of educational technology in Indiana. Speaking of our summer of e-learning we will finish up our 17th conference this summer. Lots of great information has been shared, and it's just been a great time. And like I said, visit that blog to see what's been going on. And just quickly, Twitter chats. We will have 2 Twitter chats this summer, again, finishing up our summer extra PD stuff. Thursday at noon, we'll have tweeting from the Valparaiso e-learning conference, and then Thursday night, we will have our regular Thursday night at 8 p.m. Twitter chat. So enough from me. Let's move on to our presenters. And we will, since I started about 10 minutes late, hopefully everybody can go over a little. So presenters, feel free to still use your 10 to 15 minutes, and we will just use whatever time after 10 or 11 o'clock Eastern to finish up our questions and answers. So we're really excited to share this topic with you today. Our presenters today are Kimberly Tyson, who is a K-12 literacy consultant with Learning Unlimited, Kelly Mendoza, who's the Senior Manager for Professional Development at Common Sense Media, and Chris Atkinson, who is the Assistant Principal at Collegewood Elementary and Carmel Clay Schools. And we will start with Kimberly today, and I am going to turn things over. Kimberly, I just unmuted you, so you should be unmuted.
Okay, thank you.
And you have privileges there, so go ahead and
perfect.
Get
started. Let me quickly get up my piece. Okay. All right, welcome. Thank you for joining me this morning and the other guest speakers. I'm Kimberly Tyson. I've just put up a quick picture of me, and I am a literacy consultant. I was a classroom teacher. I was an administrator and an instructor at the college level for numerous years, and then I've been back in classrooms for the past 14 years. And I'm excited to talk with you this morning very quickly around 21 digital tools to support vocabulary. I frequently write and share digital tools on my blog, and I'll share with you later how to get there, as well as through Twitter. But this morning I'm going to focus on digital tools to support vocabulary. And before I share those, I'm just going to share some very quick thoughts that I believe are important to keep in mind when we talk about digital tools. First, I believe that your instructional objectives always come first. It's easy to get wowed by digital tools, but thinking around what's your purpose and then letting the technology and the apps, whatever that may be, support your goals for vocabulary comprehension, reading, math, whatever it is that you're instructing. that needs to come first, and allowing digital tools to support that. So when I'm working with teachers, I suggest that they think around these questions. Does the app or the tools support my goals for my students? You know, are there other easier sometimes ways to reach that goal? Do the apps align with our curriculum? And the novelty factor, which isn't a bad thing. It's just not the only thing when we're considering digital tools. Here's two other pieces that I've written and that I'll show you later how to get on my website. One is 6 tips for choosing digital tools to support 21st century learning. So examples of a few tools, as well as the tips that I believe we should think about when we're choosing digital tools. And another post that I recently wrote that's been pretty popular is, when are digital tools not just tools? So, you know, again, just more thoughts around why I think digital tools are important, and they can extend learning and support and enhance learning, but we should choose them carefully in our instruction. So today when I share with you these tools, I've divided them into 4 categories, and they're based on what I believe are 10 characteristics of effective vocabulary instruction. This infographic is on our website, as well as a post with more explanation. But again, choosing these tools to support what we know makes effective vocabulary instruction. So how can I use this? Again, thinking about your purpose first in terms of vocabulary and word learning, and then choosing the app to support that. So here's the 4 categories that I'll briefly share with you today, and you'll be able to follow up later if you choose on our website. One is reference tools, word clouds, games and review, and word walls, and for virtual field trips. So first, we're going to look at reference tools. So you see here, there's 10 reference tools here. Some are more visual, some are for math specifically, all kinds of reference tools. And I'll just share with you one that I particularly liked, and I'm not even sure how to pronounce this. Shahi is what I say. I really like this app because it's a visual dictionary, as well as you know, linguistic and non-linguistic definitions for each word. So basically all I did here was I typed in 3, blimp was up this morning, I typed in garrulous and I typed in verdant, and then very quickly you have the definition, and you have all these pictures with it, these visual images, and you can explore them further, of course, by clicking on them. But for students, we know that non-linguistic definitions, images, acting out, pantomimes, support word learning. So for all students, as well as particularly English language learners, this could be a nice tool. I work with a lot of schools who have a high proportion of English language learners, and so I try to always keep that in mind when I'm selecting apps, and this is a great one for that. And I think I just saw Chris put up a comment toward that. Thank you. Word clouds. You know, we're all familiar with Wordle, a little picture there from Wordle. My new favorite, and maybe you're familiar with this, maybe you're not, is Tuxedo. And I like it just because it's sort of, to me, it's Wordle on steroids. You can create images that are in shapes. An apple that you saw earlier was created in Tuxedo. I've seen teachers use this with students to introduce themselves at the beginning of the year. You know, the ways you can use word clouds are really pretty endless, but my new favorite word cloud is Tuxedo, so you should check that out. Third, games and review. Lots of games and review, and again, when you think about Marzano's 6-step vocabulary process, the 6th step is games and review, because they allow students to play with words, to use words in a casual context, review, all those kinds of ideas. So here's some great ideas. Flashcard Stash. There's a free account for teachers, so you could create flashcards, although that's not my favorite. I'll show you a quick screenshot of vocabulary shot of Vocabulary Spelling City. Again, a teacher favorite. There's free accounts for teachers. If you're a classroom teacher, you can even put your spelling list on this, and students can practice at home in a variety of different ways. So I like Vocabulary Spelling City. I think it has a lot of potential. And free rice. I like free rice, because it's going to a good cause, building your rice bowl and donating rice. It also has a variety of levels. You can see there on the bottom left of the screen, 60 different levels. So from early literacy learners to advanced, those with high-level vocabulary, what a great way to just continually review vocabulary in an interactive type of way. And then finally, word walls. I am one of those individuals who believes that word walls belong in every K-12 classroom. And here are online ways to do it: WallWisher, ThingLink, and TrackStar. And I'm going to show you one example from WallWisher. And this is an example, you may say, well, it's not really a word wall. There are other ways to use these apps, and this happens to be a timeline. So you could create a timeline. Students could create a timeline, more importantly, in an app like this that could be hosted on your classroom blog or website, as well as you can use WallWisher for more traditional word splash types of things, or any other traditional word wall that you may have in your classroom that could be in an online space as well, so that students could access that at home. In closing, so that you can look at these more in depth, there are 2 posts that I've done. On the left-hand side are broader explanations of each of these apps with links to the apps. On the right-hand side, this is a infographic, but it happens to be an interactive infographic. So when you go to this, all you have to do is click on each of those categories, which is the same that I just shared with you, and that will take you directly to the app. Also, just so you know how to get to these tools, our website is learningunlimitedllc.com, and you can also just type in Dr. Kimberly, Learning Unlimited, and it will take you there. Many of the tools that I share around apps are in my blog, Dr. Kimberly's Literacy blog, right there at the top. So that's one place where you can find them. Also, oops, that's not the right one I meant. There's a search bar, which looks a lot like that, only it's at the bottom of the page. You can type in vocabulary, and it will show you all the posts that I've written on vocabulary, which I've written numerous posts around vocabulary. If you're a classroom teacher, the Teacher Toolkit has 13 topics and hundreds of resources that are for free within those categories. If you're a staff developer, you might want to go to Ready to Go Resources, which has resources ready to go to print or look online for teachers. And then finally, our Common Core Toolkit is very popular, free, and has tools that are essential for English language arts. For the Common Core. A couple other things on our website. I have 15 apps for reading, as well as 2 different posts, 16 iPad apps to support writing, and then there's a second part to that as well, if you'd like to look at some of the other apps. And here's an example of all the vocabulary resources that are in the Teacher Toolkit around the things that we have on the website. That was quick. There are other people who are going to share other interesting things around digital tools. Feel free to ask me questions later if you have any that you're thinking of. Thank you so much. You can take it away, Mary.
I thought I had unmuted myself. Apparently I had not. Thank you, Kimberly, for getting us started and just reminding us that you know, we first need to work on the learning goals, the instructional goals, and then we need to pick the tools. So what a great way to get started, and you know, she had some great tools to share. And again, as we're going through our presentations today, make sure that from the top green bar, you mouse over and then you click on chat, and please use that chat box to ask questions, make comments, share resources or ways that you've used to find good resources, just how, like, steps that you've gone through to select things. So please use the chat to ask questions, but also to share with other people on the call. So next we are going to turn it over to Kelly Mendoza. And Kelly, I'm going to make you the presenter. And Kelly is with Common Sense Media and is going to share with us, she just shared the link in the chat box. She's going to share with us a new tool that Common Sense has called Graphite that you can use. And I don't know, I'm excited to learn about it because I don't know much about it yet. So Kelly, take it away.
Great, thank you so much for having me. I first want to start out just with a little bit about who we are and our main website, and then I will dive into Graphite. So our main website is commonsense.org or commonsensemedia.org, and we are a nonprofit. We're based in San Francisco, but we actually have people on the ground throughout the country, and we aim to help kids thrive in a world of media and technology. And we reach two different stakeholder groups. One is parents, and the other is educators in schools. So you may, if you're a parent, you may know us from our ratings and reviews on kids media, and it's hard to find the good stuff, and that's our ratings and reviews. We also do work in policy on behalf of kids in media, and we also have, under our educators tab, several education programs, the main one being our K-12 digital literacy and citizenship curriculum. So our latest venture has been a tool called Graphite, so I'm going to actually move there. But it's you can get there through the site, through educators. It should be on our education page. But it's graphite.org. And I really encourage you to register as an educator on Graphite. And the reason is because you will be able to, I'll show you in a minute. I'll keep it a surprise. But Graphite, I spoke of ratings and reviews for parents. Well, Graphite is a service that offers ratings and reviews for teachers on apps, websites, games, and digital curricula. So it's rigorous ratings and reviews. We've been doing this since the organization was founded in 2003. And it's a great way to help you find good tools that you want to use in your teaching. And Kimberly actually introduced several that we've reviewed on here. And it's also a good way for you to see how other teachers are using these tools. So I'll give you a brief tour, and let's get started. So you can see that I'm on the home page here, that you can search for tools by filtering. So say I'm looking for an app, and it's going to filter every time that I click on one of these bubbles. And maybe I'm looking for language arts or language and reading. Maybe I'm looking at, I don't know, 3rd grade. And free, right? We're always looking for free stuff. That's good. And then you'll note right here the actual devices. So maybe I'm in a classroom where we have iPads. And what will happen is each time the tools that meet that criteria will filter through. So you'll see a list of tools, and you can kind of get a top-level view here. And then you'll get a top-level view of the rating. So Toontastic is one of our high-rated apps. So let me click into that, and I'll show you what a review looks like. So you can see here there's a lot on the page, but what will be useful to you are these reviews and then the field notes. So there are two different things. One is the main review. You'll see the learning rating review and the teacher rating. The learning rating is a review by one of our expert reviewers who has lots of experience in the field, who is a great writer, and they really take a deep dive into the tool with our rubric. And the rubric is really comprehensive. So you get kind of a top-level view of their thoughts of the tool, the pros, the cons, and the bottom line. And you get a sense of the 3 main learning dimensions that are looked at, and then you could click more if you want to read more about the review. And the review covers what is the tool like, is it good for learning, and then how can teachers use it. And then you can see who the reviewer is, who you can link to at the bottom. But I want to go back to the learning dimensions. So we look at these 3 learning dimensions, and these are things that you can also think about as you are selecting digital tools and integrating them into your teaching. So I like how Kimberly talked about you really focusing on the purpose. You know, that's always something that you need to keep in the front of your mind. But when actually looking at the tool itself, you should be looking at engagement, which is, you know, is the tool engaging for students? Does it really draw them in and have them participate in a way that's meaningful to them? And I'm sure you've all had an experience with a tool that just, you know, your students just couldn't get into, it flopped, it wasn't engaging. That's really important when you're selecting digital tools. It doesn't, you know, it's not the only thing, but it's important. Pedagogy is another area, and of course we want the tool to teach students what we want it to teach, whether it's knowledge or skills or that kind of thing, and we want that learning to be deep and lasting learning. So there are some apps that sort of do, you know, kill and drill type things, and that serves a purpose, but I think what we're all looking for is a meaningful, lasting learning. And then finally, you should be thinking about support. So does the tool provide support for kids, whether it's, you know, any sort of built-in feedback to help them, and also for you. You know, does the tool provide you support? And the support could mean maybe it's a dashboard, maybe it's even tutorials, just to really help you through the experience. And you can, if you go to the bottom, there is a link that you can click on to learn more about how we rate and review. So let me go back to the top here. That main rating is from our reviewer. But you'll notice that there's a teacher rating here on the right. And where that comes from is these field notes by your average teacher who has used the tool. And so for instance, maybe I'll click into this one. And the great thing about Graphite is you can submit your own ratings and reviews on these tools to really help sort of crowdsource the best stuff and have it bubble up. So you'll notice that it's a slightly different format for the review. You provided a rating, you answer a series of questions, and you give your take on it, you know, your take on the tool, and then how you've used it with students. And when you register, I'll go back to the main page here, and say that you've used a tool and you want to share what you thought of it, you could just click on Add a Field Note. So these little notes on the side by teachers and the reviews, we call them field notes. And it's really not asking a lot of you to fill out a field note. It can be really a quick way to share how you're using something. So you summarize your thoughts on it, again, answer these questions, write a couple paragraphs for this, and submit it at the bottom, save it. But it's just a great way for teachers to continue the conversation with each other about not only, you know, what's good for learning, but how they're using these tools. Because I think a lot of times we tend to think of tools in terms of the content of what we're trying to teach, and maybe, you know, looking at the purpose. For instance, you know, there's a lot of creation tools that can be used in a lot of different subject areas. And so we have to expand how we think about integrating tools beyond content, but maybe the skills and a broader variety. So that gives you a sense of a Graphite review, and there's also some screenshots here just to give you a sense of what the app or what the tool looks like. We're hoping in the future to have short videos in this section, but that's a phase 2 kind of thing. And then also on the left, I just want to point out, you'll see additional information like the price if you were to purchase it. So this is they have a free version and then a paid version, how much time it takes to set up, different skills, and then Common Core standards, if I click here, are also listed in terms of what Common Core standards the tool best meets. And then you'll also see additional information about skills that students are learning, in this case, creativity and communication skills. It's a digital storytelling tool, and just more information to help you. So that's, in a nutshell, our basic review. I just want to point out a couple more things before we transition to the next presenter. And one is our top picks list. So, you know, there's top picks lists everywhere, the top 10 apps for this, the top 10 apps for that. And it's great because it helps us really get to the good stuff quickly. And we do the same, but we have a lot of different areas. And it could be subject area, it could be skill-based. But this is one of our new ones, insanely engaging games for the classroom. So if you're looking to integrate games, this is just a top-level bird's-eye view way of the top picks. And you can just get a sense of, you know, the overall rating and a one-sentence description of what the tool does. So check out those top picks lists as another way to search for tools. And then we also have a teacher community that you will be a part of. And soon there will be a way for you to add these teachers, you know, and maybe your favorite reviews or most helpful reviews to what we call a board that will be available August 15th. And a board is kind of like a Pinterest board where you're going to drag and drop your favorite tools. Maybe there's a specific unit that you're teaching and you're using specific tools. That'll be available coming soon. And then finally, we do have other forms of engagement. We have Appy Hours every month where we talk about different tools, and so you can click in there and maybe register for our next one. So I do want to note that for us, for Graphite, it's really important that there's a firewall between us and the developers. So we don't accept reviews from developers. We're very separate from that and independent from that. And I want to make that clear that this is independent and rigorous ratings and reviews by teachers for teachers. So I think that's really important because sometimes when you're looking at reviews on sites, you don't know where that review is coming from necessarily. And so we really want to have teachers, again, share what they think is the best, how they're using it, and what that will do is put pressure on developers to make better tools for us for learning. So again, as you are selecting those tools to integrate into your teaching, you can go to Graphite to help you in that process. And I also encourage you to submit field notes on some of these tools that you're using and help share best practices. So graphite.org, I think I mentioned that, and it's in the chat box. But I encourage you all to visit and hope it's helpful. Thank you. And hopefully Mary's still around.
I keep hitting my mute button and it's not unmuting me. Just all sorts of technical difficulties. It's late my time, Kelly, and you're with it at 7:30 Pacific time. Thank you very much for sharing, Kelly. And you know, what I was saying when I was still muted was, you know, Common Sense has so many phenomenal resources. I've used you guys many times for the typical parent thing. You know, my kids want to watch this movie, let's read a little bit about it. But Graphite looks really cool, and I really like the addition of the teacher comment that any teacher who's a part of the site can go in and because it's always great to hear from your fellow classroom, you know, people who are in the trenches, how they're really using a tool and how it's really, you know, going over in the classroom. So thank you so much for sharing Graphite with us. And I've seen several comments being made in the chat box, and thank you all for sharing your comments. Again, if you have any questions, please share them in there. And you will need to open your chat window again after we move on to Chris. So Chris, I'm going to unmute you, and I'm going to make you the presenter, and we'll move on to Chris Atkinson from Carmel Clay Schools.
Okay, can you guys hear me? Can you see me?
We can hear you and see you. Thanks, Chris.
All right, fantastic. Well, I kind of like going third. Thank you, Kimberly and Kelly, for sharing great stuff. I can really just say ditto. But I've got some tools that I want to share with you today, and 2 or 3 processes for selecting certain tools that kind of echo a lot of what Kimberly and Kelly shared this morning. So thanks for having me with you. You can find me on Twitter at Chris L. Atkinson. I blog and podcast at edreach.us, and my blog is at chrislatkinson.com, and that is my typical holding slide, a little bit about me, and I'm not going to spend time going through all of that. I think it's really important up front that you share learning targets with students, and I find as I do professional development with teachers, we like to know where we're headed to. So today, your learning targets are: I can add 5 tools to my digital toolbox, I can add 3 ideas for vetting and evaluating digital tools, and you can follow me on Twitter and spread the word of edreach.us. So let's talk about 5 different tools that you can add to your toolbox today. Some of these you may already know, some of them you may not. I think they're all-purpose tools that can be used for really any subject and communication also. The first one is if this, then that, and I'm curious, you can put in the chat if you've heard of this or not, or maybe you've heard of it but not used it. So I'm going to show you if this, then that. It's something that I personally use to really automate some of my communication, whether it be via Twitter or a text message. But you can actually create recipes for different web services that you use so that those services automatically work for you. So if you're a teacher, think about using these services to communicate to the parents in your room or maybe even the students in your room. I like the thing about if this and that is you can actually browse thousands of different recipes, they call them, that people have created. So whether it be something that you want to archive to Evernote automatically, for example, I used to be able to archive, I don't think they allow it anymore, I used to be able to archive my tweets to Evernote. But you can archive certain emails and certain parameters to Evernote or lots of different other services. One thing that I use is I just have a daily Twitter message to parents in our district, our school, sorry, that goes out and just says, you know, another great day at Collegewood. And you can even tie the weather into that, so communicate, you know, how to appropriately dress for the morning. But lots of great things you can actually filter down, whether it be a different app, whether it be a contact, an iOS, a photo. So if you've not used if this then that or checked it out before, I highly suggest just giving it a whirl, and you can automate a lot of different things. Oh, I don't know why that was there. Go back. Oh, that's fine. Sorry, just a second. I had the wrong one open. I'm losing my tabs because the bar at the top. There we go. Okay. Another new one that I've played around with a lot recently is Lucidchart. And Lucidchart is just basically an online organizer for any type of mind mapping. The thing I like about this is actually the semi-pro account is free for K-12 teachers and students. And it's a real simple sign-up process. And I signed up, and literally I think within the next 24 hours I had my upgrade in my inbox. So the great thing about it is it's just super simple to use. So you can basically just create a new document, and there's blank flowcharts. Part of those actual ones that are already set up. And some of it is a little bit technical, but you can think about even with older students being able to use this. You simply drag and drop over what you want in your flowcharts, and from there it allows you to simply create. So it's super easy to use and a great mind mapping tool. I know there's a lot of mind mapping tools out there, but this one in particular, I love that it's free for K-12 educators, and it's just a real easy-to-use tool. So check that one out. I recently created a flowchart on there that I used with our staff. That it was just a simple, easy-to-use process. Another thing that I've been presenting a lot around the state of Indiana this summer. One of my presentations has been on automating what you do in the classroom as a teacher through the use of Google Apps and Google Scripts. And in particular, with Google Scripts, you can actually create a lot of different things and automate them. One in particular is Gubrick, and I'm going to search for it now since my holding slide went bad. But Gubrick works with Doctopus, and let me see if I can actually pull that. Okay, so Andrew Stillman, you might want to write his name down. He writes a lot of scripts for Google Apps. But this one in particular, Gubrick, you actually can attach a rubric to a Google Doc and then use that Google Doc, that rubric within the Google Doc to grade it. And so you use two things, and I'll put them in the show notes or in the notes for this. But Doctopus is one script, and the other one is Gubrick. So you have to have Google Chrome to use it. But the nice thing about using Gubrick is it just pops out a rubric with each assignment that you can just simply enter the grade or score within a rubric that you create, and it automatically inserts that score or rubric within the student's work. Actually, let me show you an example of what that might look like. So this is a spreadsheet. This was an example I created for a presentation. But when you use Doctopus, you actually can send out different documents to different people in the class. You can send out a template that goes to everyone so they have their own copy in Google Docs. And then you get a link for actually following that work. And when you follow that work, you then can actually grade that work with Gubrick. So you'll notice I have this little, and hopefully you can see that way up at the top of my browser, I have this eye. That's the Gubrick right there. So when I pop that Gubrick down, and I did a lot of work to set this up, but it is possible, you see that you then have the rubric. This is the rubric that goes with this particular assignment in Google Docs. You then can actually enter the score right there, and you submit and paste the doc. And what happens, it's really cool, it saves all the scores for that particular student's assignment in the spreadsheet that you have. And not only that, it's going to stick the actual rubric at the bottom of that student's Google Doc assignment. And so you'll see kind of down at the bottom, there's the rubric. So I graded it within my own browser, and then I was able to actually stick it down at the bottom. And you can actually edit the rubric if you have to go back and change anything and still paste it back into that student's assignment. If you're a teacher, if you think about lugging home tons of stuff, again, you don't have to do any of that because you can actually just do it all on the web via Google Docs and Google Scripts. So I just highly suggest you check it out. It probably takes about a half an hour to really follow the video and learn how to do it. Once you learn how to do it, it really will save you some time this upcoming school year. Another tool that I use quite regularly is Diigo. And that's just a simple bookmarking service. I'm sure that's nothing new. I'm sure many of you have heard of Diigo. You can see I've got my little Diigo extension for Chrome right up here, and I can simply save things that I find on the web to my particular Diigo library. And a couple other things that I've used with Diigo, so this is just my Diigo library, is PackRatty. I'll open that up here. This is the Diigo extension. And let me resize this really quick. And this is a service called PackRatty.us. And it's a very simple service. You just sign in with your Twitter account, and from there you can actually hook up your Diigo account. I like this because anything I find on Twitter that I want to tweet out or I want to retweet or favorite, it will automatically bookmark those for me and give it a Twitter hashtag within my Diigo library. I like this because I don't have to necessarily take 2 steps to save something that I really like. So I thought that would be something for you as you look in terms of vetting tools you look forward to using. So that's Diigo kind of combined with Twitter and PackRatty.us. Socrative is a great formative assessment tool. This particular tool, if you've never seen it before, I suggest you watch just the introduction video, that you literally can, for free, set up questions that can be sent out, whether it be via web or via iOS device, where students can respond and you get automatic feedback. So you think about the days when we had all the classroom clickers. Well, this is like classroom clickers on steroids, and it provides a lot more than just A, B, C, D, and true and false responses. It allows you to truly get feedback from students, and as a teacher, being able to make the best decision instructionally from that feedback. So Socrative is one that I highly suggest you check out, and there's been a lot of blog posts written on the use of Socrative in classrooms, and I think that you'll find it a great tool. Another tool that I've been looking at a lot lately, and let me go back to my PowerPoint here, and I put a video in the actual slides, is Erasma. And I've not personally used Erasma, but I find this to be a great tool for anyone that has iPads in the classroom. And the thing I see about Erasma, and this is augmented reality, but you can quickly set up Erasma accounts and be able to do different things within augmented reality. So this is Erin Klein, and if you've never seen any of Erin Klein's work, she blogs at Kleinspiration, and that's kleinspiration.com. And a little bit about this, and I'll play just part of this video, and you're not going to be able to hear the sound, but I'm going to fast forward a little bit to how this works. These are just simple classroom books that might be used. I think Erin teaches 4th grade, but watch how the Erasma app is used. So you're going to see here that she's planted, obviously, a video within the augmented reality of Erasma, where if the student who has the iPad simply has to hold the iPad once they open the Erasma app over the specific page they're looking at, and they're going to get a video that pops up and helps explain something for them. So kind of see, I think she's going to, right here, open her Erasma app. Okay, so we'll see as they kind of put the book over that, there pops up the National Geographic video, so that student can have some background knowledge before they actually engage with the book. So when you think about certain blended learning stations that might happen in the classroom, this would be even if you only have a set of 3 or 4 iPads, this would be a great tool to have at that station, to have that blended learning facilitated while you maybe meet with small groups. So check out the blog post, and there's been lots of people using Erasma in really cool and different ways recently. It's a fantastic app and a fantastic tool that I think has a lot of power for blended learning in the classroom. So that's one I wanted to share with you. Okay, so let's talk about 3 different ways for vetting tools or looking at tools in general. 2 of my educational heroes, I'd say, are Mike Schmoker and Dylan Williams. And if you've never read any of Schmoker or Williams' work, I highly suggest it. And my little friend here who's wowed in the middle, if you click that friend, he's going to take you to an article that recently I read, and it was kind of that breath of fresh air. You know how sometimes you read those articles and you just kind of sit back and go, ah. But listen, it's on Education Week. It's called The Lost Art of Teaching Soundly Structured Lessons. And this goes back to what Kimberly was saying earlier about lessons, what Kelly was saying about pedagogy, but we know that best practice pedagogy has to come first before any of these tools. And so when we talk about best practice pedagogy, I think that has to be at the forefront when we think about how we actually select and vet tools for teachers and how teachers select tools. So Mr. Schmoker kind of just reiterates in the art of what we all know. You know, we have to have those clearly stated learning targets, I like to call them, or objectives. The target is more actually for students, different than a learning objective. You know, where they know they're headed. They have to know where they're headed and how they're going to get there. That gradual release of responsibility model that we often use in best practice instruction. And then that formative assessment cycle that's really going to show us how we continue to teach our students and get them to where they need to be. And that incorporates all those 21st century learning skills we're so familiar with. But I think that has to be at the forefront of how we select tools. One of the ways that I come across a lot of tools, obviously, is Twitter. And if you're not on Twitter yet, I know we've had lots of different webinars and things promoting Twitter. I highly suggest you go right now and make yourself a Twitter account. You can follow me, you can follow other people who presented today. But one of the apps that I use on my Chrome is TweetDeck. It's my favorite Twitter compliant, but I can have lots of different chats and things going on in my TweetDeck where I can follow and just learn about different tools that can help me share those tools with teachers too. And one more place to go is EdReach. And if you've not been to EdReach, I highly suggest you check it out. EdReach is a service that was started back in, I believe we started it in 2009, 2010. I've been fortunate to kind of be at the ground level of that and help see it kind of grow in lots of different ways. But EdReach is simply putting a positive spin on education, providing lots of great on-the-go professional development for teachers, by teachers, and it's really a fantastic site with tons and tons of podcasts. I promise you will learn lots of great things by checking out some of the podcasts on EdReach. We have Flip Learning Network, my shows, the Ed Admin Minute for administrators. I used to be a part of the Google Educast, which if you use a lot of Google Docs, it's a fantastic show. There's a show for gaming. We have lots of different channels, and we continue to grow our media network, and I highly suggest you check that out, not only blog posts, but podcasts for your on-the-go professional development. And lots of tools. There's a mobile reach and a mobile reach minute that shares apps and tools that can be used in the classroom. So another way to vet those tools. And as you prepare, I know we're all getting ready to go back to school, but it's one of my favorite quotes because I think that, you know, if you're here today and you're watching and you're spending time as an educator to learn more, I think you can resonate with the fact that that we have to be change agents for our kids. And we can't just kind of stand around watching, but we have to be the ones that are willing to jump in while everyone else kind of stands around watching. So that's all I have for today. Hopefully you can, all the slides, the pictures are all linked. You can click the different pictures and they should take you to the apps and the websites that I shared today and the article and all those things. So thank you, and thank you to everyone, and that was good. So thanks.
Thank you very much, Chris. He shared a lot of great stuff, and I did share a few links to some things that you mentioned, but also if everybody scrolls up in their chat box, Chris did share, I believe, a link to his PowerPoint or his Google presentation that he just shared, so feel free to look at that, and I will share slides from our presenters also on the 21st Century Learning Lab website next week when I have the recording of this webinar to share. And when I saw that last slide, it made me think we are we've got, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks left in our summer e-learning book group. And we're reading a book called Classroom Habitudes by Angela Myers, and this week's habitude is courage, and it made me think of that, you know, being change agents takes courage to try new things and to sometimes step out of your comfort zone, and that's what you're having to do in this time in education, you know, moving into, well, hopefully being in the 21st century, but, you know, getting more technology in your classroom and figuring out exactly what it is that you are teaching to, you know what you're teaching, but then trying to figure out how to then get some new tools in there to teach your students. It's a challenging job. So thank you to all 3 of our presenters. I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint here. Does anyone have any questions for our presenters? Open up your chat box again, just mouse over the green bar at the top of the screen and click on chat. I'll talk about how to contact us. And if you have any questions or comments, please type them into the chat box. Questions for any of our presenters or for your fellow participants in the call today. But on the screen right now is just different ways to find us, to find the Office of E-Learning online. Again, that's our website. You don't have to type the whole thing in. Just go to doe.in.gov and click on Hot Topics, and e-learning is under there. The 21st Century Learning Lab, I will email you all your PGP documentation here in the next few days, and then early next week I will have the recording of this webinar along with any other resources that I have to share posted on the 21st Century Learning Lab, and I will send you all links to that website so that you don't have to, or you can, copy or type it in from there. Also, we are on Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest. And Chris mentioned the INE Learn chat. He is a big participant in the INE Learn Twitter chats that we have weekly at 8 p.m. Eastern on Thursday nights. You can try to multitask while you watch Big Bang Theory if you're like me, and a big Bang Theory fan. But those are great Twitter chats to participate in. It's pretty low key, and it's great for beginners. And I believe Kimberly has participated in those Twitter chats too. So we're excited to have lots of great people sharing in there. So again, just another few seconds, please, if you have any questions to ask our presenters or any resources to share, any tools that you have in your toolbox that you want to share with other participants. Chris shared a lot of cool things and a few that were new to me, so I'm definitely going to check out a few of those tools. And the things that Kimberly shared at the beginning with literacy, those are pertinent to any subject area, and I think it was Chris that mentioned it would be great for the ELL classroom too, or for ELL students. So those are great resources. Chris, Kelly, or Kimberly, do any of you have anything that you would like to share before we sign off? I don't know if you are all unmuted or you should all be able to unmute yourself on the screen. Kelly, I think you're muted on your phone. So do any of you have anything to share?
No,
Go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say that I thought that the three pieces did really well together, and I love these types of sessions just because we all get into our favorites, and introduced me to a few that I wasn't aware of, and I love all the information about reviews that are quality reviews, and dig deep that shared as well. So I thought lots of great information was shared. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Kimberly. Kelly or Chris, did you have anything to share?
This is Kelly. Not specifically, but I know it's a challenge, so we're sort of all in this together, and I appreciate you doing these types of series to help share these kinds of tools. It's great.
Well, and Kelly, I see that you shared your different Twitter handles where we can follow you at, so that's great. Everybody who's on Twitter, you can add those to your follow lists and get some more great resources from them. And Chris, do you have anything in closing?
Yeah, I was just going to say thanks. I thought that was excellent, just hearing everybody. I'd not even seen that graphite before, so that was great. Thanks, Kelly, for sharing that. You can find, I mentioned Erasmus, and I saw a lot of people were interested in Erasmus. The podcast that I first was introduced to Erasmus from, I posted the link there, so it's definitely worth a listen. Erin kind of talks about how she's used it in the elementary classroom, and it's worth listening to that Techlandia podcast to get just more of an idea of how Erasmus has been used. So thanks for having me.
Cool. Thank you all very much, and I will compile all the resources that were shared that were mentioned into a document and share that when I share the podcast recording of the webinar. But again, thank you all for your patience and my technical difficulties, and hopefully with the struggle that took to sign off and sign back on, my recording actually did work. It appears to be working, but I will have that. I am on the road the rest of the week at the last 3 e-learning conferences, so I will get back to all of this next week, and you'll get your PGP emails, and I'll get the recording of the webinar posted. And again, thank you to Kimberly and to Chris and to Kelly and to everybody for joining us today. And I will sign off for today, and everybody have a good week and a great start to the school year.